Your biggest goal when your dog is young is building confidence in a variety of scenarios. Hi everyone, I'm Laura from Doggy U, and I'm a certified guide dog mobility instructor, trick trainer, and service dog trainer, and I've spent my entire career, over 13 years, training and placing service dogs. So today we're going to talk about public access training prep tips, as well as the many dog-friendly stores and scenarios that you can train in before your prospect is ready to go to full public access training. I'll also talk a little bit about how to know when your service dog prospect is ready for non-pet friendly outings. And I'm going to do a part 2 of this video to talk about how to handle those first public access trips for non-pet friendly stores and restaurants. So if you're interested in seeing that video, make sure you subscribe now and hit that little bell button so you get notified when it comes out. I'll also be talking about places that I avoid going with my young service dog prospect, and I think one of them is going to surprise you, so stay tuned for that. So to start, it's important to remember that in the United States, service dogs in training are not covered under federal law. So they're not covered under the ADA, the Americans with Disabilities Act, but instead they're governed under state law. So that means that each state regulates service dogs in training differently. Now, some states will allow service dogs in training to have the exact same rights as fully trained service dogs. However, in some states, they have regulations like the dogs that are in training have to go in with a trainer. So you may not have full public access rights as a service dog in training until your dog is fully trained. But that's okay, because public access trips should always start in pet-friendly locations until your dog is up to public access standards. There's almost no public access situation that you can't recreate in a pet-friendly location, and that's what we're going to talk about today. While there are no actual service dog tests in the US, I like to use the AKC's CGC tests as an indicator for where my dog is in training. So I'll use the baseline CGC, your Canine Good Citizen, for deciding whether or not this is even a service dog prospect. So if we can't pass our CGC, we're probably not going to move on to service dog training. Then when I'm looking at should I graduate to non-pet friendly stores, that's where I'm going to test for the CGC-A and the CGC-U. So that's the community canine test as well as the urban CGC. I like to use those because they are somewhat similar to the types of things that you would do in a traditional ADI public access test, so it can be a good indicator and a great test to work towards when you're owner training so that you have an objective indicator of where your dog's at. Of course, these tests are not required, and they're simply a way to measure where you are in your training, and there is no hard and fast rule on when you should graduate to full public access training. The good news is there are so many places that you can practice in pet-friendly locations to simulate both store and restaurant environments. All right, so tips for pet-friendly locations. Like I said, I am going to do that separate video on your first public access non-pet friendly outing. So if that interests you, make sure you take a second to boop that like button and subscribe, and even comment down below if you have specific questions about public access. All right, general tips for visiting pet friendly locations. First, always call ahead and make sure that this location is pet friendly, as some places do vary across the country. Also, we want to start easiest to hardest. So we're going to pick easy locations and move towards harder ones as our dog shows that they are comfortable and relaxed in these easy locations. Most of my public access trips start with me actually sitting in my car. So I'm going to pop the trunk on my car, sit in the back, and let the dog observe the new environment. I'm going to click when my dog shows engagement. So if they were sitting in the back and they start looking around and then they look back towards me, I'm going to click and reinforce that. So that offered eye contact is something that I want to reward for. If your dog doesn't have offered eye contact or you want a game to play with them, check out this video up here and I'll link it down in the description below. Spend a few trips going to the exact same location and note how your dog progresses as far as being able to relax and respond to you in that new location. Use pattern games or known behaviors to judge how your dog is feeling in new environments. Are they quick to engage with you with lots of spunk? They're probably ready for some harder things. Are they hanging back, a little bit of latency when you ask them to do a specific cue? They probably need more time in this location or to take a step back. We also want to vary the time of day that you train at. We want to start with easier times of day like 2 p.m. on a Tuesday at a low volume store, and then work up to much more challenging scenarios like Starbucks or Home Depot on a really nice weekend. We also want to start with short, fun, and engaging trips with our young dogs. This is not the time to go out and do your entire shopping trip. What I like to do is, weather permitting, I want to go to a store, spend 5 minutes working my dog in the store, having fun, engaging, bring them back out, crate them in the car, again, if the weather's okay for it, and then go back in and do the shopping that I need to do. My focus when I'm going to the store is on training my dog, and it shouldn't be on shopping when we're first starting. So I want to separate those things so I can really focus and pay attention to working with my dog. For training, a few short trips that are fun and successful is a better option than one long trip on the weekend. However, some people live far from stores, or they may have to do only one trip during the week for training. So for that, what we want to make sure we do is we're going to go to our new location, we're going to do 5 minutes of awesome training, we're going to go back to the car, we might do a decompression walk, we might chew on a bone for half an hour, and then we go back and do another store or another training little activity with the dog, so that we're breaking up going into stores and working with the dog with low pressure decompression. Also, be sure to bring high value reinforcers for your dog. So steak, liver, cheese, chicken, whatever is really high value and they might not get at home during training. And remember that your dog decides what's high value, so you may have to experiment a little bit to find what works for them. I have a video on training treats up here, so I will link that here and down below for you to check out. Your biggest goal when your dog is young is building confidence in a variety of scenarios. So before you ever consider going out to stores with your dog, we want to do a lot of confidence building at home, which you can absolutely do. And if you need ideas for this, check out the DoggyU community at patreon.com/DoggyU. It's an inclusive community of owner trainers and pet dog trainers where you'll find access to exclusive videos that are only available on the DoggyU community, as well as a live Q&A every month and videos on how to build confidence with your young dog, all stuff that you can do right in the comfort of your home. So click on the link in the description and join us. So on to our pet-friendly locations. Many of these locations are going to give you access to the scenarios environments that you're looking for when training your service dog. So that includes things like stairs, escalators, elevators, cafe-style places where you can practice restaurant works, as well as places that you can practice your task training. So we can practice our find a door, find a seat, deep pressure therapy, all in locations that are all pet-friendly. Choosing pet-friendly locations takes the pressure off of you and your dog in training. It's common that when someone puts on their service dog in training vest, they start getting nervous or anxious, and they feel all these expectations that society has that your service dog has to be perfect. Newsflash, they are animals, so they make mistakes all the time, and that is very normal. So make sure that you know that your dog is going to make mistakes, and that's okay. However, you can take a lot of the pressure off of yourself, and thus the pressure off your dog, by not putting a vest on. So if you're going to a pet-friendly location, there's no reason that you have to put a vest on your dog. Go in without the vest, do the training that you want to do until you're feeling comfortable with your dog in these new locations. This takes all of the pressure off of you, the human, and if your dog doesn't behave in the way that you wish they would, you'll know that you need to do a little bit more training, and everyone around you will just think it's another boisterous pet out for the afternoon with their human. No big deal. But in general, I recommend that you start in these pet-friendly locations not vested at all, especially for a very young dog. I really only start vesting a dog once they've shown that they're showing a lot of appropriate behavior in public, because I want to associate the vest with having fun in public, but also doing the types of behavior that we want them to do in public. And if you're feeling anxious about public trips, or maybe crowds or stores can be triggering for you, I highly recommend that you hire a trainer to take your dog out alone for its first few public outings. Then you can bring that trainer in to go together to the stores so that you're feeling more relaxed and confident and your dog is introduced in a neutral way. You can also bring a family or friend if it's going to lighten the mood and make you feel more confident. So here's some places that I love to train at, as well as a few places and scenarios that I don't want to bring a young dog to, and I think one of them is going to surprise you. First is hardware stores. This is typically the first place that I might go with a young dog. The aisles are big, people are usually going to ignore you because they're busy doing their own projects, and there's places that you can hide, like in the back of a store, to get away from people or practice some obedience in a quiet location. So I love working at hardware stores to start. Next is banks. I like banks because they're going to be a short trip typically, so it reminds you that your access trips should be short to start, and a lot of banks are dog friendly. Next is Marshall or Home Goods or any type of home goods store where dogs are allowed. These are a little more challenging because there's lots of fun stuff at dog level here compared to like a Home Depot, so we want to make sure that we have some nice engagement with our dog, some good loose leash walking, and a strong leave it before you start going into these locations. I also love to go to craft stores with young prospects like Michael's because most people are busy doing their own thing. The aisles are a little bit tighter, but it's typically pretty quiet and relatively empty if you don't go on the weekend, so it can be a great location to train in. Next is bookstores. These are one of my favorite places to bring a young dog, especially to practice settling. They're nice and quiet, and they tend to, like at a Barnes & Noble, tend to have like a cafe area with seating outside of the cafe where you could legally hang out with your pet. And I like to practice settling there because you can watch people walk by, you can do a little work, but it tends to be like a low stress environment for a dog to be introduced to settling out in public. However, if your dog is struggling at all with vocalization, we want to skip this one until we have that under control because bookstores can be pretty quiet. Another one of my favorites to go to introduce novel situations is sportsman stores. So like Sportsman's World, Cabela's, those type of places can be great for you and your dog to go to because they have a variety of just bizarre stuff that you don't get to see most days. So they usually have some type of like large fish tank situation. They're gonna have stuffed mounted animals everywhere, stuff that your dog probably hasn't seen if you didn't specifically go out in search of those things. So I love those types of stores for getting a wide variety of experiences. A lot of them also have stairs, elevators, and escalators. So good opportunity to practice those things for more advanced dogs in training. Feed stores like Tractor Supply can also be great. Be sure to stay out of the food aisles of those stores with your young dog, but it can be a great distraction for an older dog. The next one is dog training classes, which sounds a little crazy because you wouldn't consider that an outing necessarily, but even as an experienced trainer, I take a lot of different dog training classes because it provides a captive audience to proof behavior against. So I know that there's gonna be 6 other dogs there that I can practice my behavior around, which means that I have a dedicated time to do that each week. I also like to vary the location of the class I'm taking. Some classes will have like an out and about style class, or you can take them at different companies so that your dog gets experience in multiple settings with other dogs around. Now this one might take a little bit of digging, but I've traveled all over this country and it's typical to be able to find somewhere within each state a dog-friendly mall situation. So they're typically like an outdoor mall that has a bunch of stores and each store has a little emblem on it that says whether or not they're dog friendly, and usually if they don't sell food, they are. Those can be great places to both see a lot of other pets walking around, but also get to like dip in and out of different stores really quickly, which can be a great training experience for your dog. There aren't that many pet-friendly indoor malls, but if you have one near you, definitely take advantage of it. However, you can go to pet-friendly stores inside the mall if their entrance is on the outside. So for instance, nearby, we have a mall and there's a Nordstrom's on the outside, and generally Nordstrom's allows pets to come in, and it's a great place to work with a young dog. Now, many owner trainers can't wait to be able to go to a restaurant with their dog, but restaurants can be one of the toughest scenarios we ask our service dog in training to hang out in. First of all, they have to settle for a long period of time. There's typically food all over the floor. There's people walking by with food over the dog's head, and sometimes there's not a great place to put the dog, or that the settling location can be relatively uncomfortable depending on what the table legs look like. On top of the fact that people drop food all the time. So if your dog doesn't have an amazing automatic leave it, I would not start doing restaurant stuff until we have those skills under control. I'm gonna be doing a video on prepping for restaurants specifically, so stay tuned for that. But I also, if your dog does struggle with an auto leave it, I do have a video on that on my Patreon page, so check that out. Now, I want to truly prep my dog well before I ever consider taking them into a real restaurant, and I can do that to start with places like Starbucks or Whole Foods, where I can sit outside at a cafe and watch people walk in and out and practice settling. But the great part about those locations is totally no pressure. Bring a little mat for your dog, practice settling for 5 minutes, and leave. It's a great starter location to start that out and about settling at a restaurant behavior. Once they're doing well outside cafes, you can start considering a dog-friendly restaurant or patio. So there are many cities, and actually almost all of the places across the country, will have some opportunity to sit outside on the patio with your dog, or there might even be a dog-friendly restaurant like Lazy Dog Cafe, which has locations in a couple different areas of the country, where they even have a dog-specific menu. But I do not recommend feeding your dog any meals while you're sitting at the table because we don't want them to think that that's an expectation they should have. Finally, you can check out dog-friendly breweries that are popping up all over the country. We do want to be careful about when we go to those locations with our dogs, and we want to start at a very low-key time, probably earlier in the day, but it can be a good way to practice settling behavior, especially around other dogs if it is a pet-friendly location. And lastly, here's a list of some other stores where dog friendliness varies by location, so you want to check each store individually. So those were some of my favorite pet-friendly locations to start working towards full public access training with your service dog in training. But I probably missed a couple, so make sure you put those down in the comments below so that everyone can benefit and knows where those pet-friendly locations are that they can bring their service dog prospect to. All right, so on to places that I don't bring my young service dog in training to. The first is any place that's going to have a lot of off-leash dogs at it. While training for the random off-leash dog that's going to run up to you while you're working at some point is important, we don't want to expose young dogs to that until they're comfortable and confident in new locations. So if you know there's going to be lots of off-leash dogs there, avoid it for the first part of your dog's training. Next, you want to avoid places where there's a lot of loose off-leash children. While some parents are absolutely amazing at letting their kids know that they can't run up and pet the service dog, some just aren't. I've had in a store a woman who was holding her child's hand tell the child that they could not come up and pet my dog, and then just let the child go, who immediately ran across the store into my dog's face. So that stuff happens. So when your dog is young, we want to think about how can we make sure that we can create distance if we need to. A high volume of children can be overwhelming for some dogs. So if you do need to practice being around children with your young dog, make sure you pick a location where you can create distance as needed and expose your dog slowly, closer and closer as they're feeling more comfortable. Another place I'm cautious about with young dogs is loud environments like an outdoor concert. While they seem like they can be a great place to provide exposure, we want to be sure not to flood our dog by, say, putting them in a situation where they're tightly packed with a lot of people up close to the stage right in front of a speaker. That could be really challenging for a lot of dogs. We can use these outdoor concerts, say at like a park, to start doing some distance work and slowly get closer as your dog feels more comfortable. But definitely use caution in those loud environments, and if that's a thing that you're going to do a lot, make sure you're getting ear protection for your dog. The next situation I'm going to avoid is any place where people are going to be heavily drinking or under the influence. In these situations, people can get belligerent and things can get uncomfortable quickly, so I want to avoid them with my young dog. And for the last place that I avoid, which you're probably wondering why it hasn't been on the list yet, is pet stores. I don't start young dogs at pet stores. They are one of the most distracting environments that you can ask a dog to work in. So I save those for when I'm starting to proof my behavior and I have a good history with my dog of being really successful in stores. Pet stores have pee everywhere, dogs on flexies that are 10 feet down the aisle. It's a really complicated environment. So be judicious about when you start introducing your dog to working in pet stores, and definitely don't make it the first place you go. So those are some of my best tips and locations for training your young service dog prospect before it's ready for public access. Remember, don't rush it. Slow is fast in dog training, and service dog burnout is real. Remember to give your puppy plenty of time to just be a puppy and to grow up. Make sure they're having time to go out on walks, especially sniffy walks, and having time to just play, decompress, and be a dog. And like I said, I'll have another video on preparing for your first true public access trip, as well as restaurants. Or those might be separate videos, we'll see. But if you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Hit that little bell button so you get notified anytime a new video comes out. And if you want to learn more about training your dog for service work, check out the DoggyU community at patreon.com/DoggyU, where we have exclusive training videos as well as a live Q&A every month where you can get your questions answered. And if you like this video, you'll probably like this one too, so make sure you click on it. You all have an awesome day and happy training.